All right. Maybe since we're discussing U.S. cricket, probably this might be a bit of a controversial question.
What question isn't controversial in U.S. cricket?
Yeah, that's. I think we could do an entire new podcast with just USA cricket, don't we? So last year, USA cricket obviously they posted stuff in relation to the Black Lives Matter protests, and I noticed that on Facebook you highlighted the fact that many members of the Afro-Caribbean community were heavily underrepresented in cricket administration in the USA, despite providing many players. So, do you think there's a way? Is this like a bias which has arisen as a result of maybe South Asians being overrepresented in the cricket administration, or am I completely off base?
There's a lot of things to untangle here. First, I just want to go back for the context of what you're referring to. Okay. So, in the wake of all the protests that happened after the death of George Floyd, there was, I think at some stage there was this kind of social media fad broke out. And I say it fad, not to demean what was happening or demean the efforts of people to raise awareness, but here we are, in March 2021 now, and you see some comments now starting to emerge from U.S. women's soccer team, for example, who said we're not going to kneel anymore because effectively it's just turned into a meaningless gesture. Here, we're 6, 7, 8, 9 months later, nothing much has changed. Some players have now become more outspoken in the English Premier League and European soccer, saying, you know what, we're going to stop kneeling now because this is kind of becoming pointless. And these are Black players who were saying this. And so in that kind of context, I say there was this, what I would characterize as it was just a kind of a fad to go on social media and post a black box to show solidarity. In my opinion, yes, it was something that was positive to show solidarity at the time, but I would much prefer to see actions backed up by the gestures. Okay. And, they put the black box on their social media feed to show solidarity. And they put out a statement, which again, there was a lot of talk in there, but I would like to see actions backed up by words and not just an empty gesture. And they put out a statement on their social media feed, which I'll read it now for people who don't remember it or didn't see it at the time. It said, and again, it was a very, let me preface this by saying, again, I understand, I think it was positive for them to show solidarity with what was going on, but at the same time, I don't feel that the statement matched the actions of USA Cricket either then or before or since. So they put in terms of providing opportunities for people in the Black community, of which there's a very significant part of the cricket community in the U.S. That is contained within the West Indian community. You've got two major groups of people who are the fabric of the cricket culture in the U.S., the South Asian community and the West Indian community. And I feel, before I get to the statement, I just feel like in recent times, the words have not been matched by deeds, and I felt like the statement was in some sense a little bit hollow, and it was in some sense superficial to kind of claim you're showing solidarity and again making a gesture, which I felt was in some ways yeah, for lack of a better word, empty. It just did not, the rhetoric did not match the actions. So what they put was USA Cricket stands against racism and for social justice, harmony, and equality in society. The cricket community in this country is made up of people from different races, cultures, genders, and economic backgrounds. We are stronger because of our diversity. Recent events remind us that must be nurtured and cannot be taken for granted. In sport, as in life, we are stronger when we stand together. So there is a lot of words in there. There's a lot of superficial words in there, but where's the substance behind it? And so I had posted examples of the fact that, they made this statement in essence to try and show solidarity with the Black community. But where are those words backed up by actions? Okay, if you go back to when the ICC took over cricket, USACA was suspended and expelled. Okay, and in the broader context of the question, you've got the two factions, the South Asian community and the West Indian community, and they're butting heads constantly, which led to USACA being suspended and expelled. The ICC put out a statement which said as part of the process to get USA cricket community going back in the right direction and reestablishing a new governing body to help drive the growth of cricket going forward, the overarching line that they used, the ICC used, was we want a governing body that will unite the cricket community. That was the charter. We have to unite the cricket community. We've got, before USACA was expelled, there were 47 leagues that were part of USACA that was shrunk down to 15 because they disenfranchised 32 out of the 47 leagues. The ICC did an audit which showed there were more than 130 or 140 leagues around the country, just hardball leagues, in addition to softball leagues and tennis ball leagues and whatever else. Okay, so USACA, in their opinion, did not represent the majority of the cricket community, and they wanted a new governing body to come in on board and unite the cricket community, bringing all these 130, 140 leagues together. And that includes a lot of leagues that are South Asian dominated in the sense of the teams that are involved in the league are South Asian players, South Asian administrators, South Asian volunteers. And then in other parts of the country or in other leagues, in some places you've got within the same city, you've got the Asian leagues within the same city in a place like Atlanta or New York. And then you've got the West Indian leagues, West Indian players, West Indian coaches, administrators, volunteers, whatever. And in a lot of places in the US, like I say, New York is an example, Atlanta is an example, other places I could find South Florida, other places, you've got the quote, quote, West Indian leagues, and you've got the quote, quote, Asian leagues. And every team in the league is either Asian in one league, and in another league, every single team is West Indian centric. They don't mix, okay? Because there was just whether at a national level, when Gladstone Dainty was in charge, and even before that, when prior to Dainty, other administrators, there was a great sense of distrust and fear and just lack of cohesiveness, not wanting to work together. Anyway, ICC said, we want to unite the cricket community. Okay. Well, the ICC formed these advisory panels. They formed 4 advisory panels. And it was, we want to unite the cricket community. So they took people from USACA. They took people from outside USACA. They took people from the ACF, American Cricket Federation at the time, which was another rival group. Okay. They took South Asian people. They took West Indian people, got them all together. Okay. And as an example of this, on the advisory boards, and I would say, yes, there are more South Asian players at this point in time. The South Asian community, playing community, administrative community has dwarfed the West Indian playing and administrative community. Back 20, 30 years ago, it was more West Indian dominated. Now it's clearly more South Asian influence in America, okay? But the ICC formed these 4 advisory groups. They had 32 people on the advisory committees across these 4 committees. 11 out of the 32 spots on these advisory committees, were taken up by people with West Indian backgrounds, Black West Indian backgrounds. Okay, because you also got Indo-Guyanese, Indo-Trinidadians, but specifically, these were Black men and women who took up 11 out of the 32 spots on these ICC advisory groups that were tasked with getting everybody in America back on the same page. Okay, and this was from 2015 to around 2018. Okay, fast forward now to 2020. Okay, USA Cricket announced they were forming, I think, 8 or 9 advisory committees. Amongst these committees, there were 44 spots on these committees. Again, unelected positions, and I'll get to this in a second too with the board, okay? These are appointed positions, unelected positions. Of the 44 spots on these committees, only 6 spots out of the 44 were taken by Black men or women. So USA Cricket, previously the ICC had 33%. Now USA Cricket comes, and this is the governing body that was supposed to be the ones who were installed by the ICC to unite the cricket community. What happens? The representation amongst the Black community, the West Indian community, drops by more than 50%. You go from 13 spots out of 32 to 6 spots out of 44. Okay. You have, again, for further context, when I made this post, and this was following up on the USA Cricket social media post on June 2nd, this came about 10 days after they had announced a panel of 24 youth volunteers, youth volunteer coordinators. So they named, again, appointed positions. They named 24 people spread across the country: Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, New York, New Jersey, Florida, North Carolina, everywhere, okay? 24 volunteer coordinators that they proudly announced, these people are tasked with networking with the boys and girls in their regions to try and facilitate further engagement with youth cricket. We want to encourage more girls and more boys to be playing cricket. And these 24 people are the chief drivers of that. These are going to be the chief facilitators of that growth in the youth cricket community. Out of the 24 spots, one was there was one Black man, okay, and there was one female. So in their statement, they said, we want these 24 people to drive male and female growth, okay. How do you, and we want it to reach out to as many people in as many communities as possible within the US cricket ecosystem, again, which is mostly South Asian and West Indian, okay? How do you only have one person out of 24 who's Black and one person out of 24 who's female, and reconcile that by claiming we want to reach out to everybody, we want to engage with as many people as possible? So it's not just, again, it's not just a Black issue, a Black minority issue. There's a huge issue in terms of the diversity area and engagement with the female cricket community. Female cricket has been woefully left behind by American cricket administrators. This is not a USA Cricket specific issue. They're picking up the slack that previous administrations left behind, in which they basically gave no regard to women's cricket whatsoever, or very scant regard to women's cricket whatsoever. Well, if you're committed to fixing that, why would you only name one woman as a volunteer coordinator, and she was based in San Francisco? So how do you plan to recruit female cricketers, youth cricketers, junior cricketers in New York, New Jersey, Texas, Florida, especially when the ICC had just announced in the last year or two that they were now going to start an under-19 World Cup for girls. It's not just going to be a men's under-19 World Cup. There's going to be a girls under-19 World Cup. So you've really got to focus a hell of a lot of energy on getting your girls' grassroots up to speed, which again, USA has been woefully behind. And you're claiming you're going to do that, and you're claiming you're committed to diversity by appointing a solitary one female. And then again, further on the board, what was the composition of the USA Cricket Board at the moment? You've got a 10-person board. 8 people out of the 10 on the board are ethnically Indian. You've got one guy on the board who's I would characterize as American, born and raised, in Parag Marathe, who's the chairman of the board, who's executive vice president with the San Francisco 49ers. So he's coming from out of the American culture. But the other 7 people on the board, ethnically Indian, born and raised in India, migrated to the U.S. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, these people bring wonderful contributions to the cricket community. They have great value that they bring to the board and bring to the cricket culture. Okay, there's one white Australian woman on the board. Okay, and then you have an Indo-Trinidadian female on the board. Okay, so out of 10 people on the board, now you can make a case these are elected positions. So this is just a byproduct of the voter base and the membership base. But in a 10-person board, there's not one black representative on the USA Cricket Board. Okay, the only place where there really exists at the moment, I would say, adequate representation in terms of in a capacity, an administrative capacity, is on the selection panels. The men's selection panel, in a 5-person panel, you've got 2 men on the panel who are black, who represented USA. Clayton Lambert, who played for the USA at that Champions Trophy in 2004, Guyanese, black Guyanese, and Orlando Baker, played for USA from 2008 to 2014, is a black Jamaican immigrant, played for USA. Okay, so 2 out of 5 on your selection panel. That's pretty good representation. If you're claiming you want to be diverse and have different backgrounds represented. In terms of the other administrative capacities or volunteer capacities or volunteer appointments, advisory appointments, panel appointments, everything has gone in the opposite direction. Instead of being more inclusive, you could argue they've been far less inclusive since the ICC transitioned and turned things over to the USA. So I guess just to answer the point, I feel, I just felt like the statement that was made was something that rang hollow. And if USA truly means what they said in June 2020, well, why not back it up with actions instead of just a Facebook statement that doesn't really amount to much? The evidence demonstrates that, 8-9 months later. And again, it's not just a black issue, black West Indian versus the Asian community. They've got a tremendous issue with not having really much in the way of working to get more females involved. The selection chairman for the women's selection panel, Joan Alexander, resigned, and they replaced her, again, women's selection panel, they replaced her with a man, Ritesh Kadu, who had a distinguished career, played for the USA. I don't have anything against Ritesh Kadu, but again, women's selection panel, Ritesh Kadu, should he be the chairman? When, to what extent has he been involved in women's cricket, and compared to, say, Joan Alexander? Now, she resigned, she had her reasons, whatever. Her position on the board hasn't been replaced. On the selection panel hasn't been replaced. So again, I just feel like there are ways that USA Cricket goes about things. Some things they are doing well, and some things they have a lot of room for improvement. And I feel this is an area where if you're going to put out a statement like this, you better back it up. And I don't see much evidence that they've backed it up, is the point that I was making at the time. Trying to shed some light on what they were, again, trying to demonstrate at the time, which I feel like they demonstrated poorly. And again, 9 months later, I still feel like there's a long way to go to really make progress in some of these things, if that's how they want to go about it. If you don't commit yourself to a statement like that, and you just want to hire whoever you want to hire, or put into positions whoever you want to put into positions for whatever reason, so be it. You can run your organization however you want to run your organization.
Yeah.
More power to you. Okay. But I just think it was hypocritical, and there's a bit of hypocrisy when you put out a statement like that. That's what I was kind of trying to spotlight is, you can run your organization however you want to run your organization. But if you claim you're committed to diversity, and we want to improve boys and girls cricket, and we want to, stand by our Black brothers and sisters, well, you got to do more than just a Facebook statement. How about actually demonstrating it by appointing qualified people and encouraging more people to apply to these positions and making them feel welcome? Because again, if you look at the evidence with the number of people who were on the ICC advisory panels during the transition period from 2015 to 2018, there were arguably twice as many Black and there were more women on these panels as well. There's far fewer women, there's far fewer members of the Black community and the cricket community on these panels. And that's something that I felt was worth shedding some light on.
I think I 100% buy what you said, because I read the Facebook post, and I think you certainly do make some very good points on that. And I do hope that US cricket acts on what you've said, not only on the whole race issue, but also gender, because that is also equally important. So thank you. That's a very detailed response.